In this tutorial, we are going to add the JavaScript function that allows our header to shrink and grow as a user scrolls. This is just a real basic JavaScript function. There are several of these out there that you can find, and this is one that I used because I'm using a logo in our header. There are others that will shrink and grow text and in a header and stuff like that. So I kind of like this one. There are some other examples out there if you'd like to try it, and you're more than welcome to give that a shot. So the first thing we need to do is we need to enter the script. So right above here where we have our body tag, I'm going to hit the enter return key. And I'm going to type in a left caret, and we're going to type in script. And then right caret and hit the enter return key a couple of times. And I don't know why it tabbed in there like that, so I'm going to just come back here and keep my script on the same tab space there with my closing script tag. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to type in window. So window period on scroll. Kind of makes sense, right? Equals, and what we're doing is we're creating a function. And type in a parenthesis, and then after the parenthesis, hit the spacebar, and then type in a curly brace, and then hit the enter return key. Okay, what we're doing is we're going to name this function, and this is going to be called grow shrink, no spaces, capitalize. Whenever you have kind of multiple words with stuff like this, you want to lowercase, capitalize. So grow shrink logo, and then parenthesis. Okay, then following that, we need to make sure that we put a semicolon at the end of this curly brace. So type that in, and then hit the enter return key a couple of times so we have some white space there to see where we're going. Okay, so then we're going to call this function. So function grow shrink logo. Make sure you type it right and spell it right, otherwise it's not going to work. And then parentheses, and then after that open up a curly brace and then hit the enter return key. Okay, so this is going to be, we're going to type in the variable, type in var, spacebar, and then capitalize logo. So this is going to call up an ID that we will name here in just a minute. So don't worry about that. That'll come and go into our style sheet, and then we'll also apply that ID to our image. So hit the spacebar and then the equal sign, and document dot get element by ID. So does that make sense? Okay, we're calling a variable with an ID, and then we're going to bring it in. So here we go. And then make sure you capitalize logo there, and it needs to be in quotation marks. Oops. Sorry, there we go. Okay, and then after that, parentheses, hit the enter return key. If, parenthesis, document, dot body, dot scroll, top. And notice that code hinting is coming up for us on these, so you can hit the enter return key if you want for those to bring those up. Is greater than 5. And then these, this character here is right above the /, but you have to use the shift key to use it. I know there's a name for it, and I've forgotten the name for it, but it's the straight up and down line right next to the curly brace bracket key. You have to hit the shift key to make them work, and it's like / key. So you need 2 of those, and then the space bar. Document period document element period scroll top. Again, greater than 5. Okay, and then place your cursor at the end of that parenthesis, spacebar, and then open up another curly brace, and then hit the enter return key. And it should automatically tab in for you. Okay, type in capital L, so logo, dot style, dot width, or period, sorry I'm using dot, equals And this is where it's going to set the width of your logo. So it's going to automatically reduce it to this size. So in this case, ours is going to reduce to 100 pixels. And then at the end of that, with that single quotation mark, make sure you put in a semicolon. Okay? And then here, we're going to place our cursor right after that curly brace, that closing curly brace right there. Okay? And then we're going to type in an else statement. So if it's greater than 5, if it scrolls and it's greater than 5, and I believe that refers to 5 pixels, if it's greater than 5, then do this. If it's not, then you're going to keep it at this width. So we're going to type in else, open up a curly brace, hit the enter return key again, and then same thing, capital logo, that's an L, okay, dot style, dot width, equals, and in this case, we're going to set this to 250 pixels. Okay, you can set this to a different value if your logo is that size, but for me, that's the size of my logo, the width of my logo, so that's what I'm using. If your logo width is a little bit different, you need to make that adjustment to that piece right there. Okay, so that actually does it for the grow shrink function. It's pretty simple, like I said. But before we move on, there's a couple of other things that we need to do to make sure that this works. So where we have our image source, where our image is at, we have our right down in here in that div class logo, and you should see image src images. I need to add a style and I need to add an ID. So after the alt, where I've typed in alt one column design, after that quotation mark there, where I've got that, and right before the forward slash for the closing part of that tag, I'm going to hit the space bar, and we need to type in style equals, and then quotation mark width colon 250 pixel. Okay, so this is going to essentially set the base value of our logo to 250 pixels, but it's also going to mirror and match what we've told it to do in our function up here in the top. So these two values, where we have style width 250 pixels, those two things need to match so that you don't end up with something funky in your design. Okay, next we need to give this image the ID that we've applied up here, up in logo up here. Okay, so we need to type in ID equals, and then quotation marks, and then make sure you've capitalized it like I have up here in the function. Okay, so style width 250 pixels, ID logo, ID equals logo with a capital L. Okay, before I move on to the next step though, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control S, and then one last thing I want to add is I want to add a slight delay to the when you scroll down to the page. So I'm going to click over into our style sheet, and right below where I have my mobile, where it says dot logo grid column, I'm going to add that ID that we used in the previous spot for that function and for the image. So hit the enter return key, and we're going to type in the pound symbol and then logo. It even comes up for me in my code hint. So I'm going to just finish that out, and then open up a curly brace, enter return key, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in a transition, gotta spell it right, transition delay. Gotta spell it right. Hello. DE, there we go. And then it's just going to be a very subtle delay. You don't want to go more than 0.2 it's basically 0.2 seconds, so basically 2 milliseconds or whatever it is, 0.2 of a second. If you go more than that, it gets funky. It gets kind of hung up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now here's the deal: you're not going to be able to preview this because you have no content in your page right now. And if I refresh this, you can't scroll down because there's nothing there, and it won't do anything because there's not enough content there to scroll down. So if you want to preview this, come back over to your source code and find where your closing header tag is, right in there, okay? And then add some spaces. So just type in a P, paragraph tag, close it, and then add an ampersand, and then type in NBSP, and you should see it come up in your code hint. Okay, and then just copy this a few times. So I'm just going to grab that line, Command C, and then copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And you notice that came out there. It doesn't really matter. Here, make sure that kind of looks like it should for you. And you're going to have to do this a bunch of times. Hang on. The code's going sideways here. There we go. Okay, and then I copied that a handful of times there, and then grab that whole chunk there, and then just really kind of go to town. And we'll delete all this here at the end, but it'll just be enough to test, hopefully, and come back to our design here. Not enough to test. Let's see if I can refresh it. Let's see if I can get over to our, actually I know what I need to do. Let's go up to View, Developer, and Developer Tools. Let's get into there. So see now that we have enough to test because our window is smaller in our mobile view. So when you scroll down, boom, it gets smaller and kind of gets out of the way, which is actually kind of a nice design feature if you think about it for your users. Gets that header out of the way. Most of the time you don't need it there. Once you've already seen it, once you've already landed on the page and you want to get to the content on the page, you want it out of there. So it just shrinks, and that way it's out of the way for the user. In the next tutorial, we will work on our hamburger menu navigation.